Good morning and welcome to my shop. This is Bert Delisle here, and today I'm going to make a spool knitter. It's a small device, just a little block of wood. Can be any length, any size. This one's 3-inch, this one's 4-inch. It's basically a nominal 2-inch square. This is a solid block. This one here is a lamination, just had some scraps laying around, and it'll give it a nice little different color. But basically, we turn it around, we bore a hole in it, we mount 4 pins in it, sand it up, and then we turn around and make a needle. We take a little stick and we do a little spindle, make a wooden needle for the knitting activity. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. So I like to turn these on spindle turning, and I like using a step center. It's nice. I just like to use them. They're handy. Obviously, before we got started, I took a piece of wood and we put across this corner to corner and found center and punched it. And I'll grab my face shield and put my face shield on, and we'll get to turning. I'm wondering if that might be washing out a little bit. I'll see if I can change the lighting a little. There, how's that? That might make it a little bit nicer to see. So this is kind of nice. You get to see the 2 different woods, and it's fairly nice and round. So what I'll do now is I'll put a couple of burn lines on one end. I'm just using some piano wire, and put it on a couple of wooden handles, and basically just piano wire to burn the lines in. Now we'll just take a look, and what I normally like to do is I'll say this is going to be the top, and I'll leave about that much there, come about here, and I'll curve this out like that. I just have to make sure I leave enough room in the middle for I use a 7/8 drill bit to do the boring. So normally when I'm making these, I have a whole bunch of blocks and I just go ahead and turn all of them to round. But for this demonstration, I'll just be turning the one. So at this stage, I would sand them. Now, because this is intended to be handled, I never go much past 220 grit on sanding these because they have a nice tactile feel. They're nice and clean, they're smooth, and I very seldom ever put a finish on them. because it just has a nice tactile, warm feel, and people can, if they want to, with children, they might want to paint their own, or they might want to finish it however they want to do it. So, with that done, we'll pop this out, and we'll get ready to drill. So I use a 7/8 drill bit in my tailstock. It's got a Morris taper. I like this drill bit because it doesn't wobble very much. It's nice and secure. And one of the things I found is that when I'm using my Talon chuck, I can use my Talon chuck because it happens to be about 50mm jaws, and it works perfectly for grabbing this burn line. And that's the reason I put a burn line in, is I put the burn line in about a 1/4 inch, a little better than a 1/4 inch in, and I make the groove big enough that the dovetail on the Talon jaws will grab the workpiece very, very nicely, and it'll be nicely centered as well. So I'll turn the speed down, and we'll proceed to drill it out. Okay, that's basically that end. This is going to be the top end, so obviously we'll need to flatten it off. We'll put some marks on it where we want to put the pins. Okay, so that's got the pinholes marked and ready to drill. I'm just going to turn this around so that I can finish the bottom off. Flatten the bottom and make sure that the hole is tapered and cleaned up so the hole's all the way through. Okay. Okay, I'm going to swing this camera around so that we can take a look at the drill press. I've got my new camera mounts, which are, I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the in the picture-in-picture there, but I just built these camera mounts, and this is the first time I'm using them, so let's see how they work, and we'll see if I can get my camera set up here. I think I'll take the picture-in-picture off. There, that's a little better. You'll be able to see that. Now the pins that I'm going to use are 7/32 of an inch. The pins I actually picked up at were at a Lee Valley pin, and let's see. I'm going to lock that about there. So let's see if we can see that on there. You'll be able to see that I've set my drill stop about there, which will be still within the major diameter of the spool. There we go. So 4 holes. So let's swing this around this way again. We'll bring it down to point it there. And now I can put this back in the chuck to clean up this end a little bit. And like I say, having these grooves on here allows me to wiggle this back and forth and get it so that the chuck is grabbing, the dovetails are grabbing right in the groove, which then makes the spool turn fairly true. Makes it real easy to turn it. There we go. Okay, so what I said, what I do for pins is I've picked up these pins at Lee Valley several years ago when I was making some wooden toys, and these were little axle pins for that I used for when I made the little toy trains and little toy trucks. I would put the wheels on, and this would be the axles that we'd glue in. Well, it turns out that these are perfect for putting in here as a spool knitter, because they do have a little bulb on the end of the pin, which when they're putting their wool on there, for little people it's a little handier because it doesn't just automatically fall off when they're trying to spool knit. It's nice to have a little bit of a bulb on there that keeps the one thread on the pin while you're working the second thread. So basically that's a spool knitter complete. I'll glue these in. So the spool knitter is complete. The next thing we need to do is we need to make a needle for it. So what I like to do with making a needle is I still again use my steb center, and I grab the steb center because it has a straight shoulder on it. I can grab it on the chuck, and it'll get me centered. I'll spin this. Tailstock back and get rid of the drill bit. And I'll put the tail center back in, live center. And then I'll go ahead and let's see which camera is that's probably the best angle there. And put that up there. So this is on the center on that end. And I like to eyeball this one here. I've already got a dipple on, but a lot of times with making these small pieces like this, I just eyeball the center. I don't worry about being exactly on center, because I'm making a small wooden needle, and to make a small wooden needle, it needs to be small enough so that it'll actually pick the threads up pretty easily. What I like to do here is I like to put a straight tenon on one end of the needle, because what I'll end up doing now is I'll change chucks. Change chucks to my Talon chuck with the step jaws or #1 jaws, and I'll put this in the jaws and just grab it very lightly, and then I'll bring this tailstock up, put it on center, and hold it on center, and then when I tighten this up, it'll hold the needle perfectly straight. Because what I'll end up doing is taking the tailstock away. Once I get most of this shaped, I'll be taking the tailstock away, and I want it to run true. What I normally do for making needles is I like to use a skew. I start off by marking the big end, and then I'll go ahead and turn it down with a skew. And there you have it. One little spool knitter, and they can wrap their threads around and start knitting by using this little needle to flip things over and turning it and flipping it over. And so one of the details I like to put on the end of the needle is take it down and leave it just a little bit of a hint of a little nub. It's not really a hook, but it's a little smaller diameter, about 1/4 inch in from the end. So when they hook their thread, the thread has some place to kind of hang on to, and then when they flip it over, it makes life a lot easier. Anyway, that's spool knitter done. It only took a few minutes, and anybody can make them, and children love them, and lots of people like to make things with these. And they're a simple project. It uses up small pieces of wood. Anyway, thanks for watching. Check out my channel, Bert Delisle or East Slope Woodturning, and we'll see you on the flip side. Take care.